Happy Monday, everybody. Welcome into the Graham Lick and Mac Lane podcast. If you're watching on YouTube, you can see we're both beaming because some really big things happened the last couple of days. And Mac is wearing his girl dad sweatshirt. Mac, you're a dad. Tell us everything.
Come on, KG.
HIPAA, but tell us most things.
HIPAA. I have so many HIPAA paperwork. It's crazy. The papers, the documents. Here's the deal. I'm sleep deprived. I'm excited. I'm jacked up. Little Amelia Rose decided to come early. And, she is so beautiful. That process was unbelievable. I just have to say this, too, for all the women watching. On YouTube, there's not a lot of you, but thanks for tuning in.
We see our demographics.
Little behind the curtain. There would be no human race without you, literally and figuratively. If we had to have children, I couldn't do it. My wife, Khaki, is the strongest woman I know. To see that process was unbelievable and really, really cool. I know this isn't a birthing podcast, but I just want to say it was literally the miracle of life and totally, totally cool to see it. I'm repping the swag. I've been waiting on this for so long, and she's here. She's here. So I mentioned the sleep-deprived deal. If I say some crazy stuff, guys, and you don't like it, I'm sorry. It's just going to happen. I'm on a different level right now, so I'm ready to go.
And she's literally right behind that wall.
She's
I don't
right
know
here.
If she's sleeping right now.
We might hear her later in the show.
Yeah, she's going to learn to sleep through Dad's podcast, so we love that. And maybe she'll learn my voice, and then when I meet her, she'll love me, which I can't wait. But yeah, shout out Khaki, unbelievable. I mean, when Mac was texting me and telling me how the process went, you were just singing her praises. Unreal.
She's a champ.
We got to shout out Khaki on the pod. Well, congratulations, Mac. And can't wait for Amelia's first appearance. We'll see. We'll ease her into it. I mean, she already was on TV.
She's already on TV. She's
like
ready.
Day one.
She's ready.
She's ready to roll. Okay, well, all that being said, if you want to see Amelia Rose, you can go look on Mac's Instagram as well.
That's right.
I'm a very proud podcast aunt, as you guys know. Okay, so much happened, Mac. I know you maybe didn't see as much of it just because, you're having a baby. So let's get into some of these things. I think what we'll start with is these 4-0 teams, these teams that remained undefeated, and all of them are in the most recent AP poll. The poll that just came out, Clemson's 5, NC State's 10, which means we have a top 10 matchup this weekend. Wake Forest is 22, FSU's 23, which means we have another top 25 matchup this weekend. People forget Wake and FSU are playing this weekend.
Right.
And Pitt is still 24. Clemson, FSU, Syracuse, and NC State remained undefeated. Let's start with that Clemson-Wake Forest game. Mac, how much you and I were texting during it, so I know you got to watch a good part of it, but that game was insane. Clemson beats Wake Forest 51-45 in double overtime. It hit the over, which we both said it would. We didn't think it would be like this, though. I don't think people expected Wake's offense to look this good. That was one of the main storylines was some of the questions about Clemson's defense, but also both quarterbacks, and specifically because there's been more questions about him. DJ Uiagalelei was fantastic. There's no other word. And so was Sam Hartman, but DJ proved a lot of people wrong.
Absolutely. And there's so many different ways to approach that game, right? It was
insane.
It was sad because I wasn't with my boys and I wasn't doing the weekend thing, but it was awesome because I really just got to unplug and be a fan of college football. And for a weekend to just sit here and take it all in, watch what I want to watch, don't watch what I don't want to watch, and, just have a great Saturday holding my little baby girl as she watches her first football. She couldn't see anything. For those who want to come at me, she can't see but like 4 inches in front of her.
But honestly, it was not good luck for Wake that Amelia Rose was born because Amelia Rose, with both her parents being Clemson grads, that was a tough blow for Wake, honestly. I don't know how they were going to overcome that.
She starts off 1-0 in her career. Pretty good.
Right,
pretty good.
Right.
So we'll see where that gets her this weekend. But yeah, I want to start with the QBs because they were on another level. I mean, both of those guys, the duel back and forth. And quite honestly, I mean, Sam Hartman should have and could have had so many more yards, but there were just so many penalties for pass interference by those young Clemson DBs. But both guys, I mean, never flinched. We're faced with adverse situation. Clemson goes up big very quickly. Wake Forest just storms back. And when I saw how Sam, just to start with him, how he was doing things, the way he manipulated the pocket, the way that he was not afraid to step right up in the teeth of that defensive line and deliver strikes, to take a shot, to get hit, and still find his guys. And for, these cats stepping up. I mean, we have known about A.T. Perry. We've known about Taylor Marin. We've known about Green. But Banks, I mean, just these last couple of games, this guy is playing out of his mind. And just to see that, it just proves to you again how good Wake Forest is at developing talent, at finding wide receiver talent specifically these last couple of years, and very impressed, with what I saw from them. Really excited even more so, to see the AP poll, number one, respect Clemson, but also respect Wake and not just blast them out for losing those guys. I think they dropped a spot, which sounds about right. And so, with that, thought it was an unbelievable performance. They ran the ball very well. I mean, you look at that Liberty game, and it just had to be a case of overlooking Liberty, but they were horrible. And they're running the ball on Clemson 110 yards. I mean, really, at the end of the game, whatever they wanted, they were doing. And they were moving the ball because Clemson was in such a bind where, do we drop back in coverage? Do we blitz? And Wake had the answer every single time. No matter what they did, Wake Forest answered.
Break that down for our listeners, because so many Clemson people, I tweeted, hey, these Wake wide receivers are actually pretty good. This is the best wide receiving core in the ACC because Virginia's taken such a step back.
Yeah.
So that was part of it. But these Clemson has a bunch of injuries right now in the secondary. So these young DBs were getting abused. 10 penalties for 120 yards. A lot of those were PI. Most of those were PIs. So in those last couple possessions in an overtime, Clemson switched. They were playing more zone, I believe, and that's why Wake was running the ball. So that seemed to work better. Why didn't Clemson make some of those adjustments earlier? I think that's what your average fan is thinking.
Well, there's a couple of different things. I'll bring up your first point of time. When did you say that occurred? It occurred in overtime.
Yeah.
What happens in overtime?
You have a short
field is condensed. You can't just go over the top. And so for Clemson, it makes a lot more sense. Okay, they've got 30 yards. We go cover 2, we can have a safety who can cover 15 yards and get to the corner, and we feel good enough about up front that we can recover. And so for me, I think that's why that happened that way. Regardless, the rest of the game, I'm not sure. I don't know why we didn't see adjustments. That's something that I thought Clemson would have answers all the time this year. When you see personnel, when you see, the mindset of this defensive coaching room, and they just got busted. I mean, quite frankly, Clemson, Wake Forest offensively coached way better than Clemson did on defense. I mean, those guys, they won the day. I know the scoreboard didn't reflect it, but they were busting them right and left. I mean, no one came into this game saying Wake Forest defense is going to be unbelievable. No one said that. We knew that Clemson was going to be able to score the football. We did not know that Wake Forest was going to be able to have any type of success. And it was a chess match that they executed perfectly. So have to give big, kudos to where it's earned and delivered. And that offensive staff, Sam Hartman and the boys, really got it going. Offensive line played really, really well. Those guys looked exceptional.
Wake executed. That's for sure. I mean, I think you got to give Wake credit.
Absolutely. Now let me go to the Clemson side, because we saw something from DJ that even in those Notre Dame, Boston College games, we didn't see this guy. DJ is at the best he's ever been at the college level. Confidence, ownership of the offense, knowing where he goes with the football, running the football. It's crazy to see, KG, and this it's awesome to see too, because you're seeing a guy at the highest stage, all the criticism in the world from his own fan base to alumni to probably players on his own team to businesses with NIL and the repercussions from money and performance and all these different things. He has handled, this situation perfectly, and now he's come out of the storm and he's playing the best that he's ever played. So the interesting thing is going to be continuing to see, can these receivers make plays for him? In this game, that was a resounding yes. Those guys made all kinds of plays all over the field.
The receivers stepped up, and that was something we talked about a ton last week. Bo Collins was great. Davis Allen, using him at the tight end position. He had some massive catches. Antonio Williams, the freshman. I want to add this, Mac, and we have a little bit of a shorter episode today because we're recording a bunch of different things for Wednesday's episode today, so stay tuned.
Big game this weekend.
Yeah. I want to add this, because some people are tweeting at us saying, oh, you guys didn't believe in DJ, whatever. And it's, the Clemson people who tweeted us, because we are Clemson grads, even though we cover the entire ACC and try to be as unbiased as possible. I'm not going to apologize for at least being critical of DJ, because last year he was awful. Yeah. We can't pretend that last year didn't happen and just say, oh, yeah, Dabo said it was going to be fine, so it was going to be fine. No, that's not what we do. We watch the games, we evaluate, and even the Georgia Tech game, he wasn't great. And Klubnik comes in one drive against the backups, but he also has all of Sweeney's sons playing with him, and he looks great. So we're just evaluating what we see. So just for someone to say, you never believe, no. That's not the point. That's not what we're doing here. I evaluate. I mean, he threw 10 touchdowns, 9 picks last year, or whatever it was. was just seeing what I saw.
For 50%, was at the bottom of the ACC.
Now,
there's no question.
This is one of the greatest comebacks we might ever see from a quarterback from one season to another. And we're going to give him his due, and he's playing amazing. But come on. We're just looking at what we see and telling you what it is.
Listen, on this show, we're always going to tell you what's happening
y'all.
right now. Okay, and it's not a homer deal at all. And that's quite frank. I mean, the guy couldn't throw an out route last year. I mean, it's not a debate. It's not a question. It's not a lack of belief.
And that's also what makes it so amazing.
Exactly.
Unbelievable.
And I think, honestly, KG, folks almost discredit the work that he's put in when you say stuff like that.
Mentally, too, I'm sure.
Yeah. I mean, to discredit the journey that he's had to go through, and that if you say that he was not terrible a year ago, you're lying. And again, you're taken away from the story, because that is how he got here. That he had to go through all of that to get to here. So anyway, at the end of the day, a great game. Somebody had to win. Somebody had to lose. And Clemson found a way. When it mattered most, defense stepped up. Nate Wiggins, who got picked on all game, almost comes down with a game-winning interception, sealed the game by knocking it down on 4th down. But that's what it takes in this game. It only takes one play.
And how about that? 0 turnovers from both teams, which was pretty crazy.
I mean, it was
the way they passed the ball.
for two offensive people like you and I, it was the perfect game.
Yeah,
and it was great. It started everything off. Nothing really led up to that, but it was a great game.
One more thing about DJ. Another person you got to give credit to is Dabo Swinney for sticking with him. I think there are so many other coaches out there that would have gone to the portal, which many people asked why they weren't. But Dabo believed in him, and I think that said a lot to DJU. And I think you have to give credit to Dabo for doing that too.
Right, and you know what I think is interesting also about that you bring that up, KG, is the media, we are not there every day. So, he could have been showing flashes this entire time. I'm sure he was. But, we didn't get to see, literally the change that occurred right before that coaching staff and those players and stuff like that. So I agree with you 100%.
Yep. All right. Speaking of a coach sticking with a quarterback and not bringing in someone in the portal, let's talk about Florida State and Jordan Travis. Florida State beats Boston College 44-14. We both said FSU would cover. The number was large, but FSU is playing incredibly well, and BC is very bad. They're ranked now, Mac. They're finally ranked. We told them to be patient. They were absolutely dominant. They returned that opening kickoff, and it felt like a wrap. Doak was sold out. So many positive things for FSU moving forward. And they really did what we thought they were going to do, Mac. But the fact that they're ranked this week, I think, is a really good sign. 4-0 with what they've done. They absolutely deserve it.
Right, yeah, 100%. And I have to give such a shout out to the Tallahassee fans there, the Florida State fans. They were electric. I talked to the boys. They were in Tallahassee all weekend. Talked to Pack, all those guys. They said it was unbelievable, the environment, the shows, the folks all around the sets. I mean, that's what it's about. That's, when we travel as the ACC network and go to these different places, that's the type of output that we expect, from the fans. You get it every time you go to Virginia Tech. You see it here with Florida State. So that was incredible to see and kind of be a third-party member of that and really, witness it. But Jordan Travis is – man, I got to say, between Garrett Schrader and Jordan Travis and DJU, I mean, these guys have turned into different people. I mean, it's been really incredible to watch the fundamentals that they're playing with now, how the footwork makes everything go. When you have calm feet in the pocket and you can sit there and process, boom, I'm jumping 1, 2, 3, bam, ball's out. And it's not panicking. It's not breaking down and having loud feet and running all around just to run around. Jordan Travis is an electric football player, and the way that he plays quarterback, the efficiency that he plays with, this Atlantic race, it was already interesting to start the season. With Florida State playing like this, it's even more interesting. They play Wake Forest this weekend, as you mentioned. It's going to be fascinating. I mean, this is a massive weekend in the ACC that's going to have the country's attention. Massive.
And we talk about the 4 undefeated teams. They're all in the Atlantic. We talk about the top 25 matchups this weekend, all in the Atlantic. Clemson, NC State, and Wake, Florida State, and then, of course, Syracuse undefeated. The Atlantic has to get some more respect nationally. Absolutely. I know we're always going to talk about the SEC West, whatever, Big Ten, whatever. This division is really, really good. And even beyond the undefeated teams, when you look at like a Wake Forest, I mean, and Louisville. Louisville goes and stomps South Florida, team that almost beat Florida. Not saying Louisville's, they still have some issues, but still, that was impressive. So this Atlantic is going to be tough. And the 2 games this weekend, both on ABC again, Wake and FSU at 3:30, Clemson, NC State at 7:30. Those are 2 massive games for deciding who's going to win this thing.
Listen, the country wants to see the ACC, man, on ABC.
They do.
Running that network.
Put them on ABC, baby.
It's impressive to see. And just one more thing on Florida State before we move on. The identity of this team and the fact that they've been able to keep it so true through each of these games and really just know who they are, the confidence that they are playing with right now. It's special to watch. And I think that, when you see the turnaround from 0-4 versus 4-0 this year versus last year, I mean, it is night and day. The buy-in, the understanding of how to play and and how to go about our business with culture and things like that. It's really cool to see when a coach has time, when people don't just freak out and lose their minds, the turnaround that he can have.
Sure, completely agree. And it's great for the league and it's great for college football. Okay, another undefeated team. And Mac, they're going to be undefeated, most likely, barring anything insane, after this weekend as well. Syracuse is 4-0. They beat Virginia 22-20. I picked UVA to cover because I just didn't trust really either of these teams. And Syracuse still didn't look great, but that's what's so encouraging about Syracuse. Maybe the Louisville game, they really played a full, complete game. And UConn, but it's UConn. The last 2 wins, they've just found a way. I mean, it feels like the DNA of this team and the belief of this team is changing because Sean Tucker hasn't played great the last 2 games, and they still have won.
Yeah,
and that says a lot.
It absolutely does. And I mean, they're still finding him a way to get the football right. Like he had 5 receptions.
Yeah, I like that.
45 yards. So he had 100 total yards. But yeah, I mean, I would love to see them get back to really being able to run the ball effectively and still be true to who they are, what they have there. But Schrader's playing so well. I mean, he's distributing the ball. He puts it in the right place. He is running the ball very effectively. Coach and I in this offense, it's just fun to see. And then the defense, I mean, you see a guy in Grant Williams that I watched that matchup like a microscope, just seeing what is he going to do? How is he going to respond? Because he got picked on, quite frankly, a week ago against Purdue, and the things that they did time and time again, it was with him guarding X. Most of the times it was Charlie Jones. So when I saw that, I was like, okay, is this guy going to be, number one, discouraged? Because I know he's a heck of a ball player. He's going to go top 3 rounds. Is he going to be discouraged? Is he going to be pouting? Or is he going to go and ball out? And that's exactly what he did. Shut it down. I mean, anytime the ball was near him, it was a pick or a PBU. He's playing at a very high level. Would have loved to see that again against Purdue, but the response was there. Excited for Syracuse. I think they can really make some noise. I'm sounding the alarms on Virginia. I mean, I don't get it. I really don't. I don't understand it. The connection between Wicks and Armstrong a year ago was one of the best we've ever seen. Now, those guys can't even play catch. Like, it's routine, curl route, 5 yards, boom, hits him in the chest, falls on the ground. And it's very, very confusing, KG. Don't understand why, don't understand how. But those guys, man, you've got to figure it out. This could get bad in a hurry over there.
I think what you're seeing at Virginia and Miami, which we'll hit on Miami, is the effective scheme change on a quarterback. When you've been in the same
100%,
scheme
100%.
For Brennan, it's been multiple years. For TVD, it was a couple at those different programs. So a new scheme comes in. Maybe you don't buy into it as much. Maybe it doesn't let you put up crazy numbers, but there's a reason why the coaches want to do it. I think you're seeing that issue at both of those places. But Virginia, it's a little more puzzling just because you still have so many weapons. But their O-line is so bad. I mean, their O-line, like Brennan Armstrong is literally, I mean, think of the one guy with the sword against the army of 500 people. I mean, that's what it feels like Brennan Armstrong is doing with that O-line.
What is that from? You're talking about a GIF. It's very famous.
Yeah, what movie is it?
What is it from? It's not a movie. Just take one guess. This is going to be so embarrassing.
300?
Okay. This podcast is over.
I don't know the fighting movie.
Game of Thrones is from Game of Thrones.
Oh, that's Game of Thrones? Yeah. I've been watching The Dragon Show, but there's a lot going on.
Dragon Show. Oh, dude.
The House of the Dragon. There's a lot going on.
Okay.
But anyway, that's a whole other podcast.
You knew that. I'm good.
Nick wants to watch it. I'm like, I mean.
Nick, come on. Keep pushing the issue button.
These poor women in this show. Okay.
That's true.
So Syracuse, they win. Yeah, so girl did now. Okay. NC State beats UConn. UConn covers.
Unbelievable, by the way.
You knew NC State would let their foot off the gas. They play UConn. Mac, and you have Clemson next week. You can't just go all out for 4 quarters. You just can't. But still, Devin Leary, he played well, and he really connected with Thayer Thomas and Devin Carter, who you really want to see emerge.
Yeah, which was great. I mean, when you look at Devin, this was by far and away his best game of the year. I mean, I finally saw, glimpses of the guy performing at a very high level last year, that ACC Player of the Year. This was him. I mean, throwing the ball really, really accurately. It just looked different. The first couple of games, you guys might remember me saying, there's just something wrong. It's off. He's not hitting guys that normally he hits. He's not, getting guys the ball when he needs to. This game, he absolutely did. 300-plus yards, 4 touchdowns. I mean, just the composure that he did it with, the smooth operator, as EJ had called him for a couple of years now, that was all there. The run game, still very impressive. I cannot wait for this matchup this weekend, but it's good to see Devin peaking at the absolute best time. Good to see that run game still be explosive and being able to do things while he's throwing the ball at a high rate. And then that defense, I mean, they are just nasty. And those linebackers are freaks. And, they're playing at a great level right now.
Well, and that's the positive of playing UConn before Clemson, is it is a confidence. It's one of those games where everyone's feeling good. Now, Clemson is coming off a game where they had to really band together, overcome adversity.
Right.
We'll see. We'll see which one bodes better. 2 other wins that were good wins for the ACC. Pitt 45, Rhode Island 24. Not sure what Pitt's doing, giving up 24 points, but that's okay. Izzy Abanikanda was really good. Louisville stomped USF 41-3. I thought that was very impressive. Just your quick thoughts on both of those games, Mac.
Yeah, again, to see Izzy just go nuts. I mean, 4 touchdowns for that young man, 130-plus yards for the third
Where did he
game.
go, Mac?
He went to the, what is it called? The Hizzy?
He went to the
4
Hizzy.
times. He went
Yes,
to the Hizzy
he
4
did.
times.
Yes.
So love to see that. And just the output from that young man. He's a freak of nature. It was interesting that Slovis played. Threw the ball really efficiently. Was 20 of 27, but just thought that they wouldn't even put a risk, for injury in there. But hey, do what you want, get that guy some reps. Obviously, this is his first year with this team. Right. And then with Louisville, I had a suspicion that they could do that. But it's just whatever I think and say, Louisville's going to do the opposite. So I kind of took a leap of faith here. They got it done. Offense looked fantastic. Malik, I mean, he's such a special player. And when you can see him playing at that level where he is in the zone, and he probably feels unstoppable. Honestly, it probably feels like a video game when he's doing the things that he is. And good to see that, because he's too good of a player, to be losing these silly games.
Yep, for sure. Okay, Kansas and Duke. This game delivered. I was watching Clemson Wake and Kansas Duke at the same time, which I've never done before in my life during football season. And the 2 things that I was worried about for Duke, the environment was raucous.
Right.
I mean, Kansas sold it out, Mac. I didn't even think they could. The environment was lit. Forget the lady knitting a couple years ago. No, this is a brand new Kansas. And Jalen Daniels, Kansas quarterback, was just too good. I mean, he was electric through the air and with his legs. He's really good.
Did you see how Kansas ignited the Heisman campaign for that young man? Did you see that over the weekend?
What did they do?
This cool little graphic, and it said, when should you start a Heisman? And then it filled in the blank campaign. And so I guess that's their way of announcing. Wow. I mean, he's playing just super efficient.
Beat Duke, start the Heisman campaign.
Yeah, right. That's right. Well, I think when you do it the way he did, I mean, do whatever you want.
He's great.
This guy doesn't miss, has a really electric arm. Not something where you ooh and ah, this guy can really zip it, but he does it so well and just plays at a very high level. Too much for Duke. Thought that Riley and the boys would be able to have the firepower. Just couldn't get the ball in the end zone, which, we've seen quarterbacks, struggle with that. When you have such a high-tempo offense, you got to take points when you must. Really still impressed with Riley, leading rusher, leading passer. Future super bright for that young man.
Mm-hmm. And still, Duke, you're feeling great. I mean, you'll take it. They host Virginia this weekend, and Duke, right, as of now, is favored in that game, Max, something that most people would not have guessed going into the year. Let's talk about the ugly. All right.
Do we have to?
We have to. Let's ease in. Okay. Let's start with Notre Dame, North Carolina.
Okay,
the score doesn't look as bad as it was. And Mac and I both picked UNC because this Notre Dame offense has looked so bad. I mean, no one thought Notre Dame could score 45 on air, much less on another team. Unless, Mac, you really did think that?
Do you remember when we were joking around on Friday and you were like, okay, Notre Dame, super bad offense. North Carolina, super bad defense. What does that mean? And I said, Notre Dame scores a bunch of points.
Yes, you did. And I was like, no.
No, that's not what it means, but here we are.
Okay, never mind. Max saw it coming.
They're just bad.
It's so bad.
They're just so bad. They
And Drake May threw 5 touchdowns, and it didn't even matter.
This dude has like 10,000 touchdowns to start the season.
It doesn't matter. I mean, they're 3-1. It's not
the
end of the
and
world.
Also,
but
Notre Dame, well, I mean, this is their first real competition. You see what happens. Notre Dame just has something over them. I mean,
they do.
They beat
I
them
agree. And we talked about
23 times out of the last 27 times or whatever it is. I mean, they just, I don't know. It's just something. And again, at the end of the day, you feel really good about your offense, feel really good about your quarterback, the future. That guy is a freshman, redshirt freshman. So he has 3 more years if he wants them. Probably won't last that long. So just try to get those guys going. Honestly,
just try to play defense.
I don't even know. I don't even know what you do defensively. If you just fire everybody and bring in a whole new.
You can't fire Gene Chizik 4 games in.
Not the staff. I meant the players. Just bring in these young guys. Just get somebody else on the field who wants to play, who shows great effort. I forgot this isn't the NFL. You're not firing. You're just benching. I'm not sure. Mac. I'm really not. So it'll be fascinating to see. What do these guys do, or it just is what it is. Let's go score 46 because we would have won the game.
Next week, UNC hosts Virginia Tech. If Virginia Tech scores 40 on North Carolina, literally disband the program. Virginia Tech's offense is that bad. Okay. That was a little dramatic. Okay. How about Miami sticking in the ugly? Middle Tennessee beats Miami 45-31. I thought Middle Tennessee would cover. I thought there would be a little bit of a hangover coming off of A&M. Miami's offense has not looked good. Never did I imagine Middle Tennessee would win. Mac, we are through week 4. Miami's lost twice, and Tyler Van Dyke has been benched. What is happening?
I don't know. It's embarrassing. When I watched
the scheme change, right? I think the scheme change is part of it, but there's lack of effort, too.
I've never in my life claimed to be anything Miami, ever. I was embarrassed watching the game. I was sitting here just, cringy for the whole conference. For anybody to be able to say this, it's just, it's horrible. And I'd love to be a fly on that wall in that locker room because I can only imagine what the environment was. But it's what Miami does. It's what Miami does. They have these unexplainable, horrible – go look at every year for the last 1,000,000 years. That's what they do, and that's who you are. And, a long way to go for this staff. I thought that the change would be a little bit more drastic and dramatic. And what that means is I didn't think, competing for natties, but I did think stuff like this would disappear. And it hasn't. So maybe next year. We'll see.
But you also have the same players. I think that's – maybe this is something about the players and lack of effort, lack of want to. I don't know. I mean, Cristobal inherited this roster, and we both like TVD. We think he definitely has a want to. It was right. I think Miami also started this game where they were just flat out not ready, not taking it seriously, and that showed. And you get down 10-0 quick, panic starts to set in, and Middle Tennessee got very confident.
Yeah, and the other really weird thing about it, and again, have no insight to this, have no idea. Garcia comes in. These wide receivers are catching everything.
Yes.
I mean, he's throwing bad passes, and these guys are like Spider-Man reaching back, catching the ball. I'm just like.
It was weird.
I saw you get hit in the face mask last week with football, and you dropped it. Like, what's going on there? So I don't know. I mean, something that maybe is interesting to look at how the rest of the season goes. I also thought that Garcia was supposed to be super mobile and, a guy with his legs, and their 2, 4th down plays they ran were horrible decisions with him. So I don't know. Miami is in a really weird place right now.
Well, some of that is scheme too, because they don't really want their quarterback to get out of the pocket, at least from what we've seen so far.
Sure.
I would say bad news for Miami, they have a bye week. I would not want to be those players. Having a bye week, good Lord. That's going to be tough.
Bad news, you're about to get yelled at for 10 straight days.
That's a nightmare.
We're not going to practice football. We're going to do up downs until you all quit. That's what's going to happen.
We'll see you soon, Miami. Okay, and finally, in the ugly, UCF beats Georgia Tech 27-10. We have finished with Georgia Tech in the ugly 3 weeks in a row. I still thought Georgia Tech showed some effort. They had 8 penalties. They had a punt blocked, returned for a touchdown. I saw a report that I sent to you, Mac, from the Atlanta Journal-Constitution that the Georgia Tech, I think, Board of Trustees is meeting on Monday.
Right.
We might have some news on Monday when we release this episode, but it does feel like at some point this season, Georgia Tech is probably going to move on.
And just the way that they lost this game. I mean, if you would tell me right now, without showing me a score, if you just show me this box score and it says Jeff Sims has 300-plus yards, I think Georgia Tech wins comfortably. for him to be able to zip the ball all over the yard, really get it going. They held UCF to 49 passing yards. The bad news was they had right at 300 rushing yards. So, again, another team that's in a really tough spot, really tough situation. What do you do moving forward? And who knows? Like you said, that meeting's going to be interesting. I assume something is going to happen sooner than later.
We shall see. We'll find out probably something on Monday. Who knows? But guys, we have a great episode coming up on Wednesday. It is a massive Clemson NC State episode. And all I want to say is we will have multiple guests. That's all I'm saying.
The biggest episode, not media day, that we've ever done. You know why? Because this is the biggest game of the season for the ACC. Top 10 matchup. That's all as of now. We'll see. We'll see what happens. We'll talk about all that on Wednesday and also probably a little bit on Friday. Cannot wait, guys. That's it for us. Recapping the weekend. It's what we do on Mondays. If you don't have SiriusXM, what are you doing? Go get it. Get it in your car. Download the app. Subscribe. But we also need you to go over to YouTube. We also need you to go over to Apple Podcasts. Rate, review, subscribe there. It's always great hearing from you guys. But until next time, we'll see y'all.